Hey, welcome back. We've got something really important to talk to you about today, something that most people don't ever even realize or take into consideration when we start thinking about how we communicate between men and women. It's crazy, but most of us believe that we are all equal, but the trouble is we've confused that with being the same. You see, the Bible says that God created man, meaning mankind, in his image. He made them both male and female. Now, nowhere in there does he say one's better than the other. Okay, so equality is something that we take for granted sometimes. We think that everything to do with equality also means that we're the same. And I'm going to tell you right now, we are not the same, especially when it comes to genders. I mean, you can see that visually, but there are a lot of things biologically that you can't even see about our differences that have everything to do with how we communicate and how we experience the world so much differently. For example, most people understand that the brain is made up of two hemispheres, okay? It's divided in two. It's got two sides. We call people right-brained and left-brained all the time. I won't go into all of that, but there's something very important right in the middle of those two hemispheres. It's called the corpus callosum, okay? And without getting into the full biology lesson on it, basically what it is it's a bundle of nerves, nerve fibers that connect the two halves of the brain. It determines how it interacts. Now here's a crazy part about all of that. In women, studies have shown that they have more fibers in their corpus callosum, more fibers connecting the two sides of their brain and keeping it interactive than men do. In some studies, they've shown up to 40% more fiber connections, more nerve connections in women than in men. Think about it in terms of like a camera. If you had a camera that had a resolution, the megapixels, okay, or even a television. Stick with cameras though, because I can do easy math on those. Let's say you have a camera that's 10 megapixels, all right? And 10 megapixels means that's how much information on the image that it takes in. You can take in that much information. But then you have a camera that has, let's say, 14 megapixels, okay? 40% more. Now, you're getting that much more information about what it is you're looking at than you are with the 10 megapixel camera. That's a lot of difference in the information. Okay, the 10 megapixel camera can be very specialized. It can dig in, it can get certain things and be very linear and very objective about what it's pulling in its information, but it's not getting as much or even the same information as the camera that has 14 megapixels. Okay, so why does that matter? Think of it in terms of your mind. We often think that the difference in communication between men and women is that either men are just being deliberately vague, or men don't want to communicate about certain things, and women want to be overly expressive or overly sensitive. You know what? We're dealing with different sets of information. We're not getting the same set of information. We might be equal in so many different ways, but we are not the same at all. Men's minds tend to be more linear, one side or the other. They specialize much more so than women do. Women, because of the increased amount of nerve connections between their two hemispheres, are way more integrated. They think about things holistically. They think about things in different terms, and they're collecting way more information. I mean, this is something we could go on and on forever about, but the bottom line is we're not dealing with the same set of information. Okay, men very oftentimes can focus more easily than women can. That's got to do with biology. Women can see a greater perspective and a bigger picture than men can very often. That's actually got to do with biology. But then we take that and we correspond and compound all of the different things in society that have a bias against one side or the other, and we can see where that starts to get into communication issues when it comes to men and women. So what do we do about all of these differences? First of all, we have to acknowledge that we are equal, but we're not the same. Okay, we have a lot of differences. Then the next thing is to acknowledge the differences and actually talk about them. Be able to talk about them, not in a judgmental way, not saying, ladies, watch this now, I collect more information than you, my brain's better than yours, so this is how you need to be fixed. Guys, you don't get into, I know how to focus, I know how to be more proactive and really get after solutions, so you ladies need to back off a little bit. It's not what we're talking about. We're talking about acknowledging the differences, talking about them between each other, and even our own personal differences, okay? All of this stuff may not apply to you individually or the people you're talking to, but enough of it does that we need to look at the differences, acknowledge them, and then figure out how we can best communicate with those differences, how we can even set up our conversations differently to be able to say, hey, this is what I see in it. and be able to communicate that back. So ladies, whenever he comes home from work or from being out with his friends or anything else and you say, how was it? He says, fine. Please understand that might be the exact limit of the information that he has to be able to communicate with you. It was fine, okay? Which means all kinds of things to a man. So don't overemphasize the difference there. Guys, whenever you ask her how she is or she wants to talk about something and she goes on much longer than you would have, you have to remember she's collected more information than you would have too. Okay, we've got to be able to work back and forth and understand what those differences are. So right now, what I want you to do with your pen and paper is I want you to jot down 3 things, only 3 right now, 3 things that you see as a difference between you and a member of the opposite sex that you communicate with most regularly, be it your spouse, one of your parents, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever it is, even somebody at work. What are differences that you can see that are obvious between you and they? Write those down and make the opportunity to chat with them about those differences and see how you can communicate better. I'm looking forward to seeing the results that you get from all of this. It's PJ McClure. I'll see you again on the next video.